question after question. Worse still, Sammie's mother didn't want her to come to the field alone. The field was hidden from the rest of the suburb by woodland. It might have been a farm or orchard once, but it had long since been abandoned and returned to nature. Squashed between Sammie's subdivision in the commercial district of Split Road, it was a big swath of wilderness in this busy town. "It's so isolated and hidden, honey," her mom said. "If anything happens to you, no one will be around to help." So every day now, when Sammie's bus dropped her off at home and her parents were still at work, she came to the field in secret. When they lived in their old, more rural town, things had been different. Her mom used to pick her up at school in the afternoons, and they would walk together down the street to a conservation area with a little nature center. Sometimes they strolled the paths together, or her mom would retreat with a novel to a big armchair while Sammie explored. Sammie's mom didn't love science the way Sammie did. She mostly thought nature was pretty, like the birds at the feeder she kept just outside the kitchen window. But she'd encourage Sammie to talk to the staff who worked at Buck Place. "It's important to have a home base in nature, a place to know deeply," one of them told her. "That's how you become a naturalist, someone who understands how all things in nature are connected, from the plants to the animals to the weather and even the dirt." Sammie had decided then and there that someday she'd become a naturalist too. Ever since her family had moved here last year, she'd felt comfortable only in her field. Like the snake, safe under the door while shedding its skin, here she could hide away while she taught herself to be a scientist. So Sammie had resolved to come here alone. She felt uncomfortable about it, but she pushed the guilt down. If her parents were never around, it seemed only fair to get to make her own decisions. Besides, it wasn't like she was here just to have fun. She was learning new things every day, and she wasn't afraid. If anyone suspicious turned up, she could disappear into the forest like a fawn melting into the underbrush. And so today, like every day, Sammie had rushed home from the bus stop to her empty house. Her parents wouldn't be home from work until dinner. She dumped her school bag in the garage, strapped on her pack with her notebook and collection box already inside, and hopped on her bicycle to bike the mile to her secret place. She'd pedaled to the neighborhood's end, her blonde hair streaming from under her bicycle helmet as she flew past neighbors' lawns bursting with new grass and daffodils, pretty but tame. Fragrant New England air, warm enough to wear shorts for the first time this spring, washed her legs. After wheeling her bike in a tight circle, she dropped it in a hidden place among the bushes. She'd pushed back some branches she'd arranged herself to hike down a short, overgrown path between thick trees. Then the trees opened, and Sammie stood at the top of the field. She'd taken a great, deep breath and lifted her arms like wings. She was free of school, mean boys, stressed-out parents, and all the buildings, asphalt, vehicles, and rules that crowded her life. Almost the only sign of civilization here was this wooden door. Now, still crouched beside it, she carefully closed her collecting box on the snakeskin and glanced up through the tall grasses waving in the May breeze. All around her she heard birds calling. A common yellowthroat piped aloud, "Witchety, witchety, witchety, witch," and then, to her delight, she heard a bird she didn't know. She smiled with excitement. She'd heard the call a few times this spring, but the birds lived so high in the trees at the edge of the meadow she couldn't spot one. The song rose, a climbing trill of notes like someone running a stick along a musical chain-link fence, welcoming her. She'd never made a map of this place. Opening to the inside front cover of her notebook, she began to draw again. She sketched the narrow path descending south from the entry woods through a sloping expanse of grassland as big as 3 or 4 football fields, patches of shrubbery bunching up among tall grasses. Here where she stood, in the very middle, the path turned a slight corner at the wooden door, then continued southward, where it crossed a stone wall into more woods. It took 15 minutes to hike all the way to busy Split Road beyond. To the west, a shrub-filled decline.